Morning, Anambra, and today we'll be looking at the topic, the 2023 World Hepatitis Day. We know that this day, the commemoration of this day takes place every 28th of July, bringing the world together under a single theme to raise awareness of a disease known as hepatitis. And we have some guests seated with us in the studio this morning who will help us. Let's talk about hepatitis. What actually happens to one system when you contract this disease? What are the causes? What are the symptoms and the preventive measures? These and many more are the things that we'll be looking at today as we discuss the topic, the 2023 World Hepatitis Day. And my colleague is also with me this morning, Ajulu Chukwu Okabwe. Glad to still be here with you this morning, Ajulu.
It's always a pleasure. Ndi Anambra, good morning, and let us talk about our health as it pertains to hepatitis. Stay tuned.
All right. Okay. Our guests this morning are Dr. Nonye Ezonyejiako. She is a state clinician and with Government House Clinic. Okay, glad to have you on the show, Dr. Nonye.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Dr. Afam Cyril Aneme, Head of Department of Public Health and Disease Control, Anambra State Ministry of Health. Glad to have you on the show, Doctor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for welcoming us.
All right, you're welcome. Let's start with, kind of having an overview of what hepatitis is. I mean, when you say that someone is a patient suffering from hepatitis, what actually are we looking at? What happens to the system of that person, Dr. Nonye?
Okay, thank you for the question. So hepatitis is the inflammation of the liver. So when someone has hepatitis, it means the person's liver is inflamed, and it means it's been confirmed from a screening of the blood, and it shows positivity for any of the variants of the hepatitis virus. So that's when you say someone has hepatitis.
Okay, I know that I used to see a picture of where they will draw a healthy liver, and then the liver that has a kidney, cirrhosis and all that. Now, what actually is the cause? Because I know when one is giving birth to, of course, all of us, we are giving birth to and we have healthy livers. So what actually are the causes or the factors that can actually push one to, have this
hepatitis,
this disease? Yes.
Okay, so as I told you earlier, there are different variants of the hepatitis.
Yes.
There is A to A, A, B, C, D, and A. So just like every other viral infection, it can be contracted. So, but then there are different modes of getting it, depends on the variant. So what actually happens for A and E, it's the mode of transmission is usually fecal-oral because of maybe poor sanitation, and then the water is contaminated with fecal matter. That's how A and E is being contracted. Then B and C is usually contracted through the blood, maybe blood transfusion, maybe through sexual means, through mother to child at when the child is being given birth to, at childbirth. So for unfortunate cases for a child, the mother has it and it can be transferred to the child. Then through all those means I've told you, someone else can then contract it. So that's how.
Please, can you differentiate the A to E hepatitis so that we can know what we are dealing with here?
Okay, so for, as I said earlier, A and E, the both of them is about their mode of contact, how you get it. So A and E, as I told you, is fecal-oral, when there is poor sanitation and water is contaminated for A and E. But then, when you have hepatitis A or E, it's usually mild, but on rare cases, it can be fulminant, like it can be severe and can even cause death. But then when you get to B and C, that's usually. And another thing about A and E is that A and E are short, they're not long-term, they don't have long-term, usually they clear within less than 6 months. They don't get into chronicity.
Okay, so with or without medication?
Yes, yes. A
Okay.
and E.
A and E.
A and E.
Okay.
Yes, A and E gets cleared. You know, the body has a way of clearing it.
Okay.
But B and C are the ones that go to long term. They get to chronicity. You could have it for 10 years. It will be silent. You won't know there is a problem until when you start coming down with symptoms, and which most of the time it's already bad. It's already late. So that's why we're advocating for early screening. Everybody go screen and know your status of hepatitis B.
So in other words, is B and C that is the deadliest,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So
yes.
which one is more prevalent in this in our client, Dr. Sir?
Yeah, it's more of B.
Okay,
It's
B.
more of hepatitis B, just like doctor have said that we can always get it through our body fluids, the semen drains the urine intercourse, the blood transfusions, just body fluids. You can always get there. And you know how we behave now. The things we must do naturally for procreation to continue. So even when procreation is not aimed at, people will still do certain things we are not asked to do, and hepatitis B can get transmitted through such means. And so the ones we have ravaging our people more here is hepatitis B.
With my biology knowledge, I think I still can remember way back in secondary school that the liver is one of the organs of the body that regenerates itself, if I'm correct. So now, can the liver regenerate itself after an attack by hepatitis?
Okay, yeah, that's why depends on the stage of the hepatitis. So for that's why the advocacy is on get screened, get tested, and know your status. So if it's got early, there may not be need for treatment. If it's got early and monitored, there may not be need for treatment. The liver will regenerate itself, and but if it's already late, it would have progressed to what we called liver cirrhosis. It could even progress to what we call hepatocellular carcinoma, which is a form of cancer of the liver. So at that point, it will not be able to have the the regeneration. The person may get to death eventually. So.
Wow.
Okay. I don't really know what to say again. But then let's look at some of the causes and symptoms, because you said that someone can have it and still stay 10 or more without even exhibiting any of the symptoms. But then again, let's talk about the symptoms and some of the signs that when probably you start noticing, you know that something is up.
So with the symptoms you could have vomiting, you could have enlargement of the abdomen, more specifically you could have jaundice. Jaundice is the yellowness of the eye and the skin.
Well, I thought jaundice is it has to do with just the little babies.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, we learn every day.
Even jaundice of the little baby is another something else causes it apart from hepatitis. So you can have jaundice, yellowness of the eye, yellowness of the skin. You could have your urine will be very dark. Yes, you could have abdominal swelling, abdominal pain. So, but usually before it gets to the symptoms, that's why it's worrisome, because it's silent. Usually before symptoms start showing, it shows the person's liver would have gone very bad. Yeah.
So what other lifestyles can one expose himself to that will attract hepatitis? Probably, in this part of the world, we like to eat bushmeat and probably drink excessively beyond their body capacity. Such lifestyles, can they in any way hamper or probably expose one to getting hepatitis?
Yes, they can. Just as my colleague said, the lifestyle of sexual, then the alcohol, excessive alcohol use, because it affects the liver too. So excessive alcohol use, smoking, these are things that could predispose one to probably, if peradventure you already have it, it could make you get down even quickly.
Okay. So at what point do we say that can you actually take care of the person and you maybe with medication and all that the person will still stay free from hepatitis? So we want to know at what point if the person checked into the hospital, because we are meant to understand that when it's detected early it can be handled. Now, can it cure and it will not come back to the same person that had it earlier? And then how long does the treatment take?
Okay, so we are actually proposing for everyone to get vaccinated of hepatitis B. You know, vaccination is what keeps it away. The children should get vaccinated at birth and finish the vaccination of, I think, at 6 weeks and at 10 weeks. The adults too should check their status, and if they're negative, should get vaccinated. So for those that are positive, they are commenced on antiviral drugs, which for majority of the people, depending on what is seen, it's for life. Just like we have in HIV, it's for life. And also, most of the time, people with HIV usually have even hepatitis B co-infection. So the treatment is usually for life. But then there is also some studies that at times it even just clears on its own. Yeah, there is a possibility of, you know, having hepatitis B, being on treatment, and then having it cleared. But most of the time, it's for life.
Wow. My ancestors usually say prevention is better than cure. So now, what healthy living can one engage in order to keep such sickness, disease at bay? Since you said it's a viral disease, what's healthy, either eating habits, exercise, you know, what can we do in order to keep this at bay?
So for lifestyle, it should be, you know, ensuring a clean environment, ensuring proper sewage disposal, avoidance of sharing of sharps. Then for the healthcare workers, you know, ensuring infection prevention procedures, adhering to it so that you don't get infected as a healthcare worker. Avoiding the use of hard drugs, because people with use hard drugs will eventually have to do some injecting of themselves and all that. So avoid excess intake of alcohol. So
what of food, vegetables to eat in order to boost the lifespan or a healthy life?
Just balanced diet, eating balanced diet, eating well, exercising, just every normal thing that is expected of a good lifestyle. It helps to avoid hepatitis, just like avoiding other diseases.
You know, there are some people that are not aware of this hepatitis B, as most of the people that engage in, you know, indecent kind of sexual practices, most of them are just afraid of HIV, the big oga, HIV, forgetting about hepatitis. And we are all here today to create awareness, to let people know that such a disease exists and you can still contract it the way you contract HIV and other you know, sexually transmitted diseases. And then the theme we have for this year is One Life, One Liver. So I'm coming back to you, Dr. Cyril. How can we use this theme to create more awareness, to let people know that liver is just one, that the biggest organ, but one in your body? I know we have two kidneys. If one fails, you can rely on the other one. But when liver fails, well, I don't know what, it's all over. It's all over, because it will take a dying person for you to harvest the person's liver for transplant at the end of the day. So how can we use this year's theme to create more awareness and let people know the dangers of this hepatitis?
That is what you're doing. Thank you very much for the question. That is why since the last 2 days I've really been struggling as part of my work, because I check the global days every day, and you're working in the media house, you already know that virtually every day in the whole year calendar there is something health related the global, the international community has put for us to create awareness. So hepatitis may not be allowed to dominate others. So if yesterday it may be malaria, today is hepatitis, tomorrow it can be hypertension, the next one it could be diabetes. And you just have to be following this individual. Again, given all the opportunity and all things being equal, these kind of topics should be aired from time to time. We will develop jingles, but they are expensive because you're working here, you have other things to do, you have other people to be educated upon for several other things. So I capitalized on this today. I secured this space, disturbing the leadership of ABS to make sure we are given this space as part of my job. That's what government employed me for, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So one of them is this awareness we are trying to create now. Yes, to sensitize people on the need to take care of their liver. If we know what the liver does for the human body, just like you said, we have only one, then we won't be playing with the liver. Yes, beginning from the synthesis of the proteins that we use, the metabolism of the carbohydrates, the protein, the lipids, everything we have, the things the body rejects that has to go out through the things that are not, that are toxic to the body in liver, but the liver accumulates. Liver takes them, detoxify them, makes them less poisonous, and either they go through finally through the stool or pushes it into the bloodstream and they get excreted through the kidney. So if we know these things, then the liver ought to be well taken care of, and that is why we are here. Then the other thing you talked about is that people do a lot of very risky behaviors, like intake of alcohol, thinking that once you've come into it, take, that is how to be a man.
There is this trend going on now that when you are taking alcohol and taking water, it's flushing it out of your system at the same time.
They're deceiving themselves. Alcohol is toxic to the liver. If it kills it, it has killed it. There may not be reversal. But if you take at moderate levels, at levels where liver can handle, then it's not a problem. If it kills the way you take it, then we're having a lot of liver cirrhosis everywhere.
So now you're a medical doctor. So what should be our intake of alcohol per day if we must take it?
In medical school, they told us what we ask people is, how much of alcohol do you take? And people will say, I take 1 bottle a week. This one will say, I take 2 bottles. What we are taught is sparingly. Take alcohol sparingly once in a while. But for those ones that get drunk, they are the ones that develop liver problems, particularly liver cirrhosis. We talked about risky behaviors. I was going to that before. That is, there are a lot of people who have now in our society, and we are finding it difficult coping with them. And these are the people who call key populations. She talked about it. People that must inject drugs. It has become a habit. But our brothers, are we going to leave them? This message, we are driving it to them as we speak now. Not only now, but there are things we are doing to identify such individuals and present to them hepatitis knowledge and why they must take care of their liver, even if they are going to continue doing whatever they are doing. We also have people who call female sex workers. It's in existence in every part of the world. In this state, we have them in numbers. So we are advocating for them. If you must do this, you must find a way of protecting yourself. And what we advocate most times is for what we call unprotected sex. For such people that have chosen such lifestyle, government is not supporting that. In fact, the state government is even trying to identify where they are, using caterpillar and everything to bulldoze the place so they don't stay anymore. But some of us who are health workers are saying, well, you might destroy where they are staying, but you will not destroy the mind. They will still relocate and go start doing that thing elsewhere where you will not know. And people that patronize them know where they are. Even in Waka here, we know where they are. But there's no signpost telling you female sex worker is here. But we, the health workers who move around, we know they are there. For such people, we are taking such messages to them, apart from the one we are doing. As government, we are taking such information to them. Remember that you may have, you can get HIV from this. You can also get hepatitis from this. Right now, we are looking for where to get some vaccination for them free. Because those people remain like reservoirs from where the semen is shared to other people. So for such people, we are looking at, we are now devising a means of getting free vaccination for hepatitis B for them. We haven't succeeded because it's expensive. But we are pushing, trying to see if we can get a partner, a foreign partner. A lot of money hanging in air, but drawing them down has become the problem. If we get it, we'll take it to such people that we consider that may be reservoirs of this HIV and hepatitis, so that we can offer them the vaccination and have them protected for some good length of time.
Okay, Doctor, you talked at length and I'm really appreciative. While you were talking, there was something that really struck my mind. A video that went viral some time ago. I really can't, attach a date to it. There's a, will I say, a reoccurring trend where underage children, as in kids that are still in primary and maybe early part of secondary school, having liver problems on an alarming rate. And somebody was driving it to some of these packaged drinks, juice parents do give to their kids to take to school. Could such things actually, probably maybe the processing, actually hamper the life of children as a case of damaging or affecting their liver?
It's possible. It's possible because doctor said it here that he didn't break it down very well. He said fecal oral. And only medical persons and health workers will easily understand fecal oral. Fecal there is physics. Then the other one is oral. So somehow the hand must take the physics into the mouth. And before it does that, it might be from the anus, maybe into the water. From the anus into the fingers. From the anus into the food. And eventually it gets into the mouth. So what government is saying, and all of us health workers, is some of this processed food, we should, as much as possible, discourage our people from taking them. Our own, the ones we grow here, cook it, prepare ourselves and eat, is always better. We are not certain of the contents of the processed foods.
Not even what is labeled on the package.
You can't vouch for it. What we know is what is written there. And you are not there when they're preparing them. There may be some chemicals. One day, somebody in my early days midway into the medical school, they are teaching us drugs. Our pharmacology lecturer scared us one day. The very first day, when you want to be a doctor and they say, today we are going to introduce you to drugs. The very first thing the man said is that the drugs are poisons. Everybody's like, so are you coming to teach us how to poison our people? So, but what he's saying is that most of the things we eat, including the drugs, the medications out there in the pharmacy shops, even in the hospitals, are toxic to the liver.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why some people will tell you, in advertising certain medical products, they tell you, if you take after 3 days, and it doesn't stop, go see the doctor.
The doctor, yes.
Because there's a dosage, there's a length of time at which you take. Even paracetamol can knock off your liver. In excess doses. Doctor, am I right?
No, that's correct.
Even in excess doses of just paracetamol, the liver goes, packs. And all the functions, all the good things liver do for us, all of them will get dampened. And then the symptoms will go haywire and may take that life.
Okay, coming back to you, now that you are in the era of a lot of bitters in the market, and then you still have a lot of herbal drinks. I don't even want to start calling names, but we have a lot of them in the market, and people are patronizing these people. People are buying it. Even those people carrying a bow or whatever they call it on the head, moving, people are buying it and they are taking it on a regular. Now, what happens when someone neglects this? Because I know our people, just like you said, once you start feeling down, maybe you're having headache, you become dizzy easily, and a lot of things, loss of appetite, they'll say it's malaria. And of course, they are heading to the nearest chemist to get drugs and start mixing and start taking. Because I've seen a situation whereby somebody was dying. I even saw the eyes, the yellow color and everything. The man insisted that somebody did something to her. So what happens when this hepatitis stays so long in someone's system and is unattended to? What happens to the person?
Thank you for the good question. So when, as I said earlier, if it's there in the body for a long time, it can progress to a liver damage. It could get to liver cirrhosis. It can even progress to cancer And you know how difficult it is to treat cancer in our environment or even get a transplant, you know, so it can progress to cancer. So when it stays long in the body, it's about the progression, if not attended to. It's about the progression to more severe forms of liver disease and eventually to cancer. That's the problem.
Dr. Cyril, there's a whole lot of work for you and your office to do, since you're talking about public health. And then hepatitis, our topic for today, is relating to hygiene. What sensitization do you guys carry out in the market? Because the market is, as in, when you talk of the beehive of all the whole rubbish you can think of, you find it in the market. You find somebody selling vegetables very close to a refuse dump and things like that. The market doesn't even look healthy, yet we go there to buy things. What message is your ministry and your people, your office, taking to the market in trying to sensitize the market, the average market woman, on how to be clean in order to stay healthy and probably not transmit diseases around to the commodities she's selling?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very important question. And one thing is that some of us have had the opportunity. Some of us have had the opportunity of traveling out of the country and coming back and seeing where things are done right. Mm-hmm. Yes. For instance, I was in Japan in 2008. But the markets are not open the way ours are. The market is a building. It's a whole hall. People are there. You don't see flies where they're selling their food stuff.
Fresh food stuff.
Fresh food stuff. Where you are buying them, they are packaged. But you can see through the waterproof or whatever they use in packaging. You see and then price. The prices, of course, and the body. You don't need to ask anybody anything. The one I saw in Japan. And I visited several markets. And it's all like that in Japan. Even the ones inside their villages. The ours is open. Somebody is selling meat here behind the place where he's selling meat. There's already somewhere people can go and put. So, but we don't even have to let it be like that. There must be something we'll start until we get to where the civilized world are ready. So what government is advocating at the moment, I for one, I have attacked the people who live around Amobia. There's a river there where people wash clothes, wash cars, and the Hausa people communities are living there. You may know the place. You can connect it from here, from Amobia here. By the time you get to Nise.
Yeah, as if you're going to Agulu.
As if you're going to Agulu. You see a lot of things people do there. And towards, so people are living there, the houses who live around this place. And when they want to defecate, they go in and defecate in that water. And that water flows down and gets to Nemo, where people go and buy and the same water that has been polluted by feces is what people are using to prepare the nubu. And people will see they go there to buy your nubu they will use for funerals or weddings and so on. And before they buy, they take some and eat first to know whether it's been well prepared or not, whether it's still bitter or not. You can get a whole lot of rubbish from that place. So part of the things we did when this government came, we used to visit the people at that Amobia and tell them you must make at least a pit latrine. So you don't go poo-poo inside the water. I let that move. You must make at least pit latrine that you start using. So you stop pooping inside the water. These are things we are doing. Then we are also advocating at the moment that town unions should, as much as possible, place toilet facilities at their markets. So I'm responding to it as we speak. I know in my hometown there is one.
Enough to serve the market.
Enough to serve that market. Because that is not everything that is needed to do, but at least let's see if we can. Because people that come to sell there are people that come there to sell in every market in this state. They come with their goods in the morning and they leave by 4. So what are the chances that they won't have a need to go and defecate? And once it comes, it's a natural thing. You won't stop it. You can't be able to hold it. You must find somewhere to drop the stuff. So we are advocating for them now to please Make these things. Don't wait for government. By the time government comes, it's you that your people will begin to die. PGs, Igwes, please place toilet facilities at your various markets. Some are doing it now. Those that are not doing it, we're also pressing on them. You know, when you go to speak to them as government, they expect you to come and do it. But at my level in service, I don't have to drag Dr. Governor Soludo. What I can be doing as a public health person is to keep talking and keep engaging people at my level. Then maybe if I have opportunity, I'll put a memo. Your Excellency, please, we need toilets at the hospital, at the various market facilities we have in the state. At main market, if you go, you see. Those important ones. At Ekulobia, you go, you see. At Osogo, my place, you go, you see. At Nkonnewi, you go, you see. But the only thing they do is that sometimes when you want to go,
I hope these facilities have running water.
Yeah, some of them have. Some of those who have water system, they provide water, and that's when they begin to charge, because they need money to get the water, either pump it or get diesel to pump the water, or get fuel to pump the water, so people can use. So they now charge the way it is in airports and other places. But those that make pits, they may not charge you. Don't think they go there. They go there and keep tissue for you to use, or before you enter, they ask you where's your tissue. And things like that, so you don't go, cleaning your anus using the brick walls and the places.
All right. Thank you so much for that elaborate exposition. Let's come back to you, Dr. Noye. Now, there is this call for action as we are celebrating this day, this World Hepatitis Day, that's WHD. And the call for action is, we are not waiting. So can you elaborate on more? What are we not waiting for right now as it stands?
Okay, so we are not waiting as, for example, a pregnant woman. We are not waiting until I transmit it to my child. So I'm going to do what it takes to ensure that I protect my child, I protect myself. As a young person or as a sexually active person, we are not waiting, because I'm going to ensure safe sex. I'm going to use condom if I want to engage in sexual activity. As a health worker, we are not waiting. We're going to ensure that we get screened, know our status, so that we don't even infect our patients. We are not waiting as a health worker. We're going to ensure that we adhere to the standard operating procedures of using, gloves and donning our garments properly while we are attending to our patients to avoid, getting it. And we are not waiting that even if there is even if it has occurred, we're going to get the post-exposure prophylaxis immediately as a health worker to ensure that it doesn't progress. So that's why we are advocating for get screened, know your status, and get treated. Okay,
we talked about vaccination. That is one of the way of preventing this. So how long does this vaccination last? And then as an adult, how often are we expected to go for screening?
Okay, so the vaccination, actually, once you have it, it protects you for up to 20 years or even for a lifetime. Okay. So once you get vaccinated, usually at point of vaccination, you'll be told when to come back for the next one. It's usually 4 weeks apart. Okay. But you're going to be given a card told when to come back for the next one. So as a newborn baby at birth, it's expected that within 24 hours that you get your first 0 dose of the hepatitis. And then with the other routine vaccinations, when you come for them, you are also going to be given hepatitis B vaccine. And it protects you for life once you have the complete dosage. Okay.
So once you are vaccinated, no need for you going for screening and all that?
Yes, if you're vaccinated, or you must have been screened before being vaccination.
Okay, so how often, people that are not vaccinated yet, how often should they go for the screening?
Okay, we're advocating for get vaccinated. Okay. So, but people that are not vaccinated should screen as often as they can, especially if you know probably you're engaging in some very risky behaviors, then you should get screened. But then it's the best to get vaccinated.
There's one more question about this vaccination. So, for example, what if someone is already down with hepatitis, you already have it in your system, and you go for vaccination? Will it do anything for you?
You are not even going to be vaccinated,
Okay,
and that's why you expected
okay.
to go for the screening and be
first.
negative
Okay.
before you be vaccinated. At the point of vaccination, you'll be asked for your evidence of being negative.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the treatments for this hepatitis B? Which one do we have in this part of the world, hepatitis B? Because that's what we are talking about.
Okay. So for the treatment, there are antiviral drugs that take care of the virus. There is also what we call interferon that is being used for the treatment, just like antiviral drugs for HIV. We'll have antiviral drugs for the hepatitis.
Wow, I just learned about this one today, okay?
And then some multivitamins added depending on what is seen.
Okay, but when it's so bad that all those medication can't help, we are talking about transplant. If there is
yes, if it gets so bad and gets to cancer, it becomes a problem.
Big one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still right here on the studios of ABS talking about the 2023 World Hepatitis Day. Right now we want to go and bring street walk, because there are people we talk to about this day, and let's hear what they have to say.
WHO is a World Health body, and since they make this discovery, they should champion the cause, but it should trickle down to state, local government level equally. They should set aside a reasonable amount into research. A lot of scientists in most of the states are idle, not because they cannot conduct a proper research, but because most of this science will require a lot of funding for me. So if state government can put in serious money, knowing fully well this is health, and nobody is exempted from that, it can happen to anybody. So people should, government in particular, should really fund this particular project, take it as a special project. Sometimes when there is a security problem, government declares state of emergency. They always declare state of emergency in that area. Vote in a reasonable amount so that the money can be used for proper research on that.
Things about children are very crucial matter. It's not something that we can keep aside because these young ones, sometimes when they are having some certain feelings, they cannot say this things happened to me or the other one. But you know, if we properly take care of our children, like you know, this hepatitis that we are talking about be causing a lot of problems and you know, leading some children on timely death. But if the parents can take good care of it, it can be controlled. Because something like keeping the environment clean, because they may contaminate such disease from dirty environment.
Of course, you should expect something like that. The poverty level now. Talk about, is it these security challenges? A lot of people cannot even fit 3 square meals a day now. And so these are causes of these things, health challenges here and there. Talk about the refuse disposal, particularly here in Oka. Just recently that the governor now came up with a policy on now how to clear refuse. These things has been, in fact, malnourishment. People hardly feed properly now. Even the younger ones now, the now generation, they go on this fast food, and these foods are not even so nourishing as to nourish the body well. And so it is not even surprising that you now begin to hear of this prevalent of these diseases, like you mentioned now, the WHO coming up with the and it has to do with the liver. That's where the clearing process of these things are to take in. So I am not surprised to see that we have prevalence of such diseases now in Nigeria particularly. We're able to get the leadership right. We now talk about settling, taking care of these health challenges, and then taking care of the needs, the basic needs of the people. You talk about food, shelter, and then the 3 basic necessities of life.
That street walk we had, well, we are still talking about hepatitis, and we're talking about one body, one liver. We've definitely been exposed to the importance of making our liver healthy. And the guests we have, the doctors we have in the studio, they've really enumerated on ways we can definitely help ourselves. And then from the people that contributed during the street walk, they talked about the importance too. And now, the question I want to ask the Dr. Cyril this time around, hepatitis, can it be eradicated? What effort can the government do in order to bring it to the barest minimum, so that we definitely don't get the one organ that doesn't have a spare safe for us?
Right, thank you very much. One of the questions is also part of this, is similar to what I was asked a few days ago. Can we eradicate whatever we came to talk about that time? So it's possible to eradicate, and that is also why we are here. But there are diseases that globally we are not talking eradication anymore, because they seem to have come to stay with us. We call them endemic diseases. So what we are doing is to reduce the incidences, reduce the prevalences, and make sure it doesn't kill people by educating the people on what needs to be done. But then somebody said in the street walk we looked about the government, if we can do all the needful within our own locality, why not? We can eradicate. But how many people are listening to us here now? How many are going to put into practice the things we are saying? How many people are going to take good care of their environment? We saw our governor in this report trying to clear the gutters where people go and actually put. So, how many of such locations can he find himself doing that? How many people can he mobilize doing that around the whole state? With UNICEF, we have tried to stop what we call open defecation. Have we succeeded doing that? Open defecation. Children, adults, people who live in farm settlements, people whose predominant occupation is agriculture. When they're in the farm and they have the need to defecate, where do they do it? These are things by the time you finish answering them, then you think of how possible is it going to eradicate. Eradication is not.
Yeah.
You think of it, how are they going to eradicate? And health goes with education. How literate are our people? Okay. So these are all factors, but government and implementing partners, government I'm talking about now, including myself, we will not relent. We'll keep educating, we'll keep talking, we'll keep using all our structures to make sure people get the right information and do the right things.
Part of the role the government can play. I remember, if you want to leave this country, there are certain tests you will run before you get out of this country. Governments today allow such tests to be run for people coming into this country, because these are the areas where you can begin to checkmate some of these diseases, whether prevailing or the ones that are coming in from outside. And secondly, can governments stipulate that at certain points people should be mass vaccinated against certain diseases? These are points, areas where government can actually come in to help the masses.
No government wants to spend money, because government have, not that they don't want to spend money, but government has so much of expectations from the people. We need that the roads be made. We need that the schools be fixed. We need that lecturers don't go on strike. We need so many things that require government attention. Eventually, you find out that the resources are really not available there for everything. So government will always place emphasis on prevention. Prevention. And everybody knows that prevention is better than cure.
Okay.
The vaccines we have now, you need to, I haven't been involved in people that work with UNICEF, government of the
Oh, I
country
remember
to bring
that in Anambra
vaccines.
State there was a time they have this free vaccination of hepatitis,
Yes.
and people actually went for the vaccination.
Yes, we do, but usually they will tell you it's from this time to this time.
Yes.
Telling you that the quantity they have is not sufficient for everybody. And some will vaccinate, some will not vaccinate.
Okay.
And there's, to an extent to which you can limit people's movement. Remember, the whole world must collaborate for economic purposes.
Yeah.
So we remember the days of coronavirus. It came, it took the whole world unawares. Before we could know what we can do, an Italian has brought it here. So which means government did not see it before he brought it. His own government didn't see it before allowing him to travel. And things like that. So it is not only when you are thinking of checkmating people for traveling, you're also considering the need for that travel. The economic reasons, the health reasons, and so many political reasons for which they must travel.
Well, still talking about how we can reduce it, because I mean that's the major reason why we are here today. I know that this low coverage of testing, vaccination, like we mentioned, and treatment is some of the challenges that is making this disease look as if it's not going anywhere. We started the celebrations based on the report we have on hepatitis in 2017, and we are still here having tons of people dying because of this hepatitis. So now coming to you, Dr. Nonye, from your own perspective, because you had mentioned a lot, what do you think the government need to do? Not just government, as in Anambra State government or Nigerian government, and even government as a whole, international communities, stakeholders, people that are interested in the health, good well-being of people. What do you think they need to do so that we can bridge this gap? Because there is a lacuna here. If we can, have people get tested or screened once in a while, and then vaccination is available for everybody, and if you're already down with it, you have free access to treatment and all that.
Okay, thank you for the question. So what I think government can do is, I think government should be able to work with the NGOs, for example, and give it the attention it requires. For example, the attention given to HIV should also be given to hepatitis B. Yeah, the resources being moved towards HIV, hepatitis B should be accommodated, because actually the HIV, which is a sexually transmitted disease, the hepatitis B is also, the syphilis is also, so the three of them is like in one group, but then somehow it's like only HIV is given more attention. So I think if attention is given to it the way it's been given to HIV, I think it will go a very long way.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we can go on and on, but our time is up, and we want to say a very big thank you to both of you. Dr. Nonye Ezonyejiako, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And for teaching us what we didn't know before now. And also, Dr. Afam Cyril Aneme, thank you so much for being here too.
Thank you for accepting us.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, people that listened to us, people that watched us, and people that tried calling. Sorry, it was the network that didn't allow us to pick your calls. Thank you so much. Let's all put our hands together to say that we make our world a better place and stay free of this disease called hepatitis. My name is Chidimma Oranwa, and I want to wish you a lovely weekend.
And I'm Ajay Chukwuka. We're saying the very best of weekend to you all. Thank you.